Welcome to Clear to Close LLC. I'm your host, Steve Lachance with Integrity Mortgage, and I'm here today with the Realty One Group, Jason Becvar and James Jordan. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys coming in today. So we have quite a few things we want to chat about. One of the things that we were talking about just before we started recording here today is putting in an offer on a property right now is difficult at best. You do have a lot of competition out there, of course. We're all hearing about the multiple offer situations. And Jason, when you put in an offer on a property, what's the first thing I have to know? I mean, obviously, how much I want to offer, but how do you even start that process?
So first of all, I do an analysis on what the property's really worth.
Okay.
And then that would give me my baseline to where I would start talking about market conditions, obviously the buyer's overall health in finance wise,
Right.
what they can offer, what they can't offer.
Yep. And how do you come up with that value? Do you have to look at
Comparables in that area, most likely. Okay. We'll stretch it out a little bit if there's not any comparables, but
very similar to what an appraiser would do then, because when I order an appraisal on a property for financing, I have to do the due diligence and making sure the appraiser has at least 3 other comparable sales. So do you do something similar, kind of look for the
correct
similar type of house in the area, and then
yeah, so something similar. Try to get it as close as possible.
Yeah.
And just find out what the estimated value is.
Yeah. So James, when you and I were talking just a few minutes ago, you were saying that when you're in a multiple offer situation, which I thought was brilliant, you've got to be, well, explain that to me. So when you're looking at a purchase price that, let's say they're asking $250, what should the buyer be planning on when they make that offer?
Well, I mean, just with the market we're in right now, it's pretty uncommon to see any of these offers that are going to be under asking, houses being sold under asking. So realistically, we need to go into it knowing that it's probably going to be an over asking offer. 10 to 15,000 is not uncommon. That's actually almost standard now to expect that.
So if I have a buyer then it's approved for $250, they probably shouldn't be looking at houses that are asking $250. Is that
right? Exactly. So if we've got a pre-approval up to 250,000, we need to realistically keep our expectations and where we're searching probably down around 200, and that's going to leave us plenty of room to offer over asking. If we need to be possibly writing in contingencies where we need to get closing costs, every situation's different. So we need to approach it, with room to still fall within those pre-approval rates,
right.
the amount. And I think a lot of buyers right now, they see, I'm approved to 250. Let's look for $250,000 houses.
Right.
And then unfortunately we have to, break them back down and bring them back to reality and let them know this is just, we can't search at 250 because you're not even going to be competitive trying to offer and asking.
Yeah,
offer.
I know what you mean, because Jason, you and I have been doing business for years now. I mean, literally years. And we have some clients that have also been shopping for years.
Correct.
And just have not been able to win the bidding in this crazy market. So that's exactly what, same thing you're saying here. You have to go and you have to swing hard when you get up to plate. You gotta swing that.
Yeah, and it's
hard.
not always price either.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be the amount of days you need to close or closing costs. If you need closing costs or not, are you conventional? Are you FHA? There's a lot of factors in what the best offer is. It's not always just price either.
Yeah, I had one recently where the listing agent had called me and said, "Hey, can we close this in less than 30 days?" And I'm looking at it going, "Well, location, maybe if the appraiser can come back quick enough, we might be able to pull that off." And they didn't get the deal, even though we said, "Yeah, we'll get it done in 30 days or less." Their offer was great. That was not the seller's motivation. The seller wanted way more time. The seller's like, no, we're not interested. Anybody wants to rush us through this. We haven't even found a house yet.
That's actually, a great point right there. I like to, when I know I'm going to be submitting an offer, I'll even go above and beyond and reach out to the listing agent and ask them, are your clients looking for anything specific in a closing time frame? Because I understand not everyone does want a 30-day close.
Right.
Some people do need that time. Maybe they need 45 or 60.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to rent back.
Right.
And
right.
by coming at it from that approach, you can almost kind of cater to both parties while still being in the best interest for your buyer.
Yeah. I think that's brilliant, because in reality is you never really know what's motivating the other side of the transaction until you ask the right questions.
Exactly. Right. And then, an example we just ran into this week was that, we put in an offer and unfortunately, it didn't get accepted, but we had strong terms as far as earnest money and closing time, and what we thought would be a really strong competitive offer, and it just came back that there was another offer that had better terms, and unfortunately, we lost out. And it was a
it's
good
a lot
offer
of times
we're asking.
type of financing has a lot to do with it too. I think
Yeah.
right now the common belief, and I've mentioned this on many other podcasts, where buyers are finding that their best program is perhaps FHA, or they should be in a main state housing. This is where they're going to have those funds. They don't even need to ask the seller to pay closing costs. They can cover what they have, and the main state housing will give them a grant for some additional cash. But having a borrower qualified from a lending standpoint, having them in the best program isn't what's going to help you guys when you go to make an offer on a property, because your competition and the belief, and I say it as a belief because it's not always accurate, is that a buyer is better off to be in a conventional loan program because there must be a stronger buyer. But in this market, what I'm finding is buyers are coming to me saying, well, I can't go FHA. My agent says I got to get approved as conventional because I'll never win any offers. And we do that, but we're really fitting that square peg into a round hole sometimes. They're just scraping to get by under that conventional. Anything goes wrong, we find out the insurance is going to be a little bit more, or the taxes are a little bit more than we expected. That's when it can throw the whole deal off. Whereas an FHA perhaps had way more flexibility in those areas. So you and I have seen that before.
Yeah.
We've had buyers that we've started out as FHA, and we can go to conventional, but it's very hard if you get something under contract and you want to
conventional.
switch it over.
Yeah. Very, very hard to go to switch it to FHA.
Yeah. So where do you? Okay, Jason, you've been doing this a long time. What is your crystal ball? Mine's shattered. What does your crystal ball say is going to happen this year?
That's a tough one.
Totally putting you on the spot
Yeah,
here.
that is totally tough. I have been doing it for a little while. I'd say, we're out of the pandemic.
Kill me
kind
later,
of.
you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to kill you. We're not out of the pandemic.
Right.
I think this spring will be decent.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of buyers that, like you said, I've had a buyer for 3 years. There's
Right.
a lot of people that have had buyers, maybe not 3, but 2 years. And then we're going to pick up buyers. Taxes just ended. Or
Sure.
it's about to end.
Yeah.
We're going to pick up buyers for this year. Even if we have a decent spring for listings, we're still not going to have, obviously, enough inventory for what we have.
Right.
Do I think it's going to be like it was right after COVID? No. I think we'll be better off than it was right after COVID.
No, and in this market right now, interest rates are unpredictable too. So we're also seeing some buyers get squeezed out, some pre-approved buyers that we had maybe pre-approved 3-4 months ago, and seeing a point and a half increase in interest rates has drastically changed how much they'll qualify for now. And I think a lot of buyers don't understand that for every 20,000, I think I've used this example when we have a buyer that's trying to negotiate. For every 20,000 is roughly, this is not exact math, but roughly 20,000 is about $100 per month. So if we see the interest rate go up a point and that payment is changed by $50 to $75 to $100, they're anywhere from $10, $15, or $20,000 less qualified than they were before. So it becomes even more important. Now, of course, we're seeing a lot more push towards the rural areas, which you guys do a good coverage of, and which I love because it's nice to be able to finance something in Portland and South Portland, and I have a couple going on, but there just isn't anything there at all. And if there is, it's the homes that used to be 300,000 are now 600,000 and 700,000.
Right.
So it is just out of control as far as being able to purchase something in those areas. So rural area, of course, not going to be desirable. But with people working from home more, do you find that to be something they're looking for?
A lot of people are pushing out into the rural areas, even from the Portland out into that Waterboro, Limerick area.
Yep.
You're seeing a lot of that. People that are working in the Portland area, they're out in that area. We handle a lot of stuff in the Peru, Mexico. We're getting calls from people down south that are willing to move out there. You can get more for your dollar.
Wow.
A lot more for your dollar.
Yeah.
Prices have risen up there, but they started at an all-time low. So
Sure.
it's not like they're
Well, and the taxes are a big difference too. So you end up with a whole difference in property taxes. How about new construction? You guys seen a lot of call for that? I mean, obviously new construction is where you have to go when there's no inventory, but are you really seeing a lot of
We're getting
inquiries
calls about it. We get a lot of calls about land in general because obviously they see this the sticker price.
Right.
They see the sticker price. It's somewhere between 30 and 70 grand, and they're like, "Oh, I can afford that." But then when you start talking numbers with them on what a build's really going to cost them,
Right.
sometimes it weeds those out, and then some people are willing. But the wait is also what's killing some of the buyers that are calling. They don't
Right.
want to wait 14 to 24 months to get their house.
Right, right. The only other shift that I wanted to talk about is, and I think it's kind of shameful, is we're not seeing a lot of veterans. You're a veteran yourself, so
I am, yes.
Of course, everyone, myself, we all want to say thank you for your service, of course.
Thank you.
But in the framework of veterans being able to get homes right now, the VA program is practically getting shut out as a reasonable option for buyers, which is shameful. I feel like if we as lenders and realtors, if we push a little harder on that and communicate a little bit better to listing agents that we can help more veterans get into that no money down program, it does not have to be considered high risk. I think the number one concern is that the appraisals take too long. You seen that? Is that what you've been hearing as well?
I actually think it's the opposite.
Thank you.
I do not think appraisals take any longer for a VA.
It's the same process.
Yeah.
They're-
And I think they're assigned, aren't they?
Well, they are, and so are
Instead of
appraisals
picked
anyway.
up.
Yes, and where that's going now, I have to admit I have had experience where VA appraisals have been pickier, and some of them have come up short. But in each and every one of those circumstances that I have researched, it was way overpriced home anyway. So you start behind the eight ball, it's not gonna go well. So
Right.
with an appraisal for a VA, what a lot of listing agents don't realize, it's the same appraiser that probably did a conventional one an hour ago. It's not like they're just VA appraisers. So they're not just appraising that one product and that's it. So when we say, well, the VA appraisers are notoriously lower, well, it's not that. It's something more to it than
I think
that.
they're a little stricter when it comes to like condition of house.
Yes.
That is definitely
And that is always going to be the case when you go from 20% down to 10, 5,
Yeah.
to 0.
Zero.
You get
Yeah.
to 0. I mean, now we're talking risk. Does the borrower have that resources? But it's no different than a rural development loan where no money down. Yet those seem to go a little smoother when there's offers for those than someone getting a VA.
It's a stigma.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
think there's a
stigma.
lot of it to that, which is unfair, and I'm really hoping that can stop later on this year, because that's a whole untapped market in Maine where
Yeah.
that program is incredible.
I'm
just
not
had-
even gonna lie. I haven't seen very many VA loans, VA qualified, pre-approved buyers come through.
Yeah,
I
it's a
closed
shame.
one last year.
Yeah.
Out of my deals, one
Yeah.
VA, and it didn't come in short. I almost expected it to come in short because
Yeah.
I thought it was overpriced, but it didn't.
Yeah, I had quite a few last year. Did a lot of VA. Yeah, actually, someone on your team, Matt, on your team, we closed I think at least one or two, very big size purchases too, which VA has lifted the what we call jumbo category. They just base it on a borrower's certificate of eligibility. So if they're certified for a certain amount, they can go to the max,
Right.
as long as they can afford it, of course. But yeah, we'll see how that. We'll have to do a recap on that later in the year, because I think as things slow down and inventory does come back up, sellers are going to be a little more interested in hearing about every offer that's on the table. But for
Right.
now, that's been a challenge.
Yeah, it definitely has. And I mean, like you said, being a veteran and combat wood and everything, the veteran community really touches home to me. And, I'd love to be able to help those people out more,
It's
and
so true.
It's hard because veteran homelessness is a big issue. And, trying to afford, some people, have just their disabilities. So trying to afford in this market alone can be hindering too. So yeah, it's, the veteran community definitely is like you said, it's an untapped market.
Yeah, and it's again kind of shameful. I've worked with the VA program now for 25 years, and that was it was my first loan program I ever did. I did a VA home loan and actually they were an unmarried couple, and in order to do a VA with no money down, the VA program guarantees a veteran and their spouse.
Yep.
Which means that you can do no money down. You can be unmarried and you can still do it, but the VA will only guarantee the veteran, so there would still be a down payment for the unguaranteed part of the VA loan. So and I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to go look all this up and figure it out. Came back into the room and said, we can't do it the way you want to do it with no money down until you're married, and so That was on a Friday. Monday, they met with me again, and they literally went out that weekend, justice of the peace, and got married and brought me their certificate. I'm like, no kidding. So I actually made somebody get married.
That's awesome.
As my first loan. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I really want to thank you guys both for coming on the show. I appreciate it. When you guys come back again, we'll do some other sessions where we talk about kind of recapping where the rates have been and how we've seen things go.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.